Good evening and welcome back to Prime of Midlife. It's Thursday evening, and of course, this evening we are talking about world events. There's been a lot of talk, not so much official talk, but a lot of hints from people in the UK Army, from Grant Shapps, who is their Defence Secretary, and also just generally looking at the world. Um, Normally, in my head, I, when I was younger, certainly thought, British Army, it's a great thing. They were well trained, well supplied, etc., etc. And to be told now that we're not in a post-war era, we're in a pre-war era, and you're like, okay, that's me being warned, because that's what happens a lot with world events. You get drip fed little bits, you get hints and tips. Um, and this is obviously one of the strongest hints and tips that we've had, that our world is probably going to change quite dramatically in the next decade or so. And one of the things that I did notice last year was when the people or countries in the West were saying they were going to support Ukraine, and they would give them so much armaments, weapons, etc. Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I've been sitting in front of the fire. What that's done is seemingly depleted our own stocks. Now, here in the UK, was it last week they said Tata Steel's going to shut the blast furnaces? So in the next very near future, Britain will no longer be able to make its own steel. Now, I seem to remember the stories. I remember our old doctor's surgery had the wall with the posts where the metal had been cut off to make things in wartime. Even if we cut down every fence, we couldn't make anything because we won't have the blast furnaces to make it. So I'm a bit worried about that, I have to say. However, at my age, it's not like I'm going to get called up. But my job, as far as I see it, is to try and help my family and friends. Excuse me. So I need to be prepared. And one of the first few things that I've been thinking about over the past couple of days, is obviously, I mean, it's already starting in the Red Sea, transportation, things are being delayed. And depending on how the world goes, excuse me, depending on how the world goes, depends on where we will be able to obtain things from. Like at the moment, a lot of our stuff comes from China. What happens if Russia and China pull together against NATO? Might be a bit problematic for us. Excuse me. So I think I will be getting some clothing. I will be getting some electronics. And I will try and make sure that if that is going to be a problem in the months and years to come, that we have backups. I'm so sorry, I don't know what's happened here. So yeah, having backups of clothing, electronics, because at the moment we get a lot of our clothing, a lot of it's cheap, a lot of it's relatively disposable, but it's not overly. It doesn't have any longevity. So that is definitely going to be something I'm going to look at. Things like one of my thoughts was I'm going to start ransacking the charity shops, because things like a winter coat that's woolen cardigans as opposed to cotton cardigans. Now, I went looking online for some woolen cardigans, and they pulled up cashmere. Really, it was like £500 for a cardigan. It's like, oh my goodness. So yeah, can't possibly afford that. So charity shops. That's what I'm going to look at. Ex-army stores. Going to be looking at that as well, because says me. We actually have a couple of 5-season sleeping bags, which are ex-army, and they're fabulous, like really, really fabulous. So that's the sort of thing I'm going to be looking at, because no matter whether I need them now or whether my family needs them later, the writing seems to be on the wall. And certainly the American government, the British government, there's nobody standing there going, no, 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 this is never going to happen. They're actually telling us we're on a pre-war footing. There may be conscription. As I say, I'm too old to be conscripted. But what I can do is I can help those around me get through things the best they can, whether it's by preparing food, whether it's by prepping, whether it's by preparing blankies or buying things, because putting my mind back, obviously it was my parents that were born in the war years, but looking back at the stories, people struggled to find clothes. Clothes were rationed. I want to get good quality clothes, and I want to get them now. I want to get good quality things like pots and pans. I want to get them now. Excuse me. I'm so sorry for the coughing. So yeah, that is what my plan is, because the fact that there's no denials out there means that they can't cover anything up. You know, this is what they're thinking is going to happen. So yeah, more prepping. I will make lists and I will let you know what I'm doing. But certainly, first things are looking to stock up on good quality, because it's going to need to last, whatever it is that I get. So rather than bother you with any more of my coughing, I'm going to go and get myself some drink, and I will catch you later.